Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airy Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airy Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
I'm mentally prepared by, honestly, like at night, I was reading about it. I would almost meditate on my own before I would go to bed, just thinking about, the baby and when she's here and what I'm going to do. And it's almost like shadow wrestling, right? Like, that's what I was doing. I was shadow wrestling, what I was going to do in my life. So, my single leg over here was me waking up in the morning, and I change the baby, and then I get ready for work, and I feed her, and then I give her off to my wife, and then I go to work, and then I'm doing my double leg over here. And that's how I was getting ready for it. I was just shadow wrestling for 9 straight months.
What up, y'all? This is Airy Bros Radio, and this is episode 24 with Anthony Iazzetta, a.k.a. Gucci. You ready, Prince?
I am super stoked for this one. I am super stoked to give the fans of Airy Bros Radio Gucci, my other brother, my other big brother, my brother from another mother, the other Richie Rich in my life, gives it to me straight. If it wasn't for Gucci, we probably wouldn't be on this college campus because he tutored me, got me out of junior college, and now we're here. So, yeah, I'm super stoked to put Gucci out there and give people what I get on a daily basis.
Yeah, it was a great conversation, and although we've interacted here and there and met here and there as well, it's always reassuring to know that there's someone else out there that gives you as much shit as he does.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to have him come out when you're away, because I don't know if I want the two of you in the same room. It's only happened once or twice, and you're both on different wavelengths. The one time he helped pick you up from the airport, we're both in different minds, so we really didn't get to hit it off. But yeah, I'm trying to keep you two as far apart, because I know with two of you together, it's not going to be good for the Prince. But that said, it's all love. It's all big brother love.
No, but
and
had we connected on that trip, we both could have hammered you for being you.
Yeah. I mean, but I get enough of it from the two of you single. I don't know if I need the triple threat, the tag team.
I think you need all of both barrels of the Richie the Kid and Gucci coming at you. But yeah, it was a super cool episode. Anthony is one of the head guys at Jersey Strong, formerly known as WOW, for those of you that aren't from the Jersey Shore area. It's a chain of gyms. So he's one of the main guys over there at one of the gyms, and it's either in Ocean or Shrewsbury. I'll put the link in the show notes for Jersey Strong. But just super cool to get his take on, and he's a new father, so it was great to have him come on and talk about what it's like being a dad, how being a wrestler helped him helped prepare him for that situation, something that probably can never really prepare for until you're in the moment. It's kind of like locking the door in a cage or running 100 miles. You can't really prepare for it till you're actually in the moment of doing it. So he's got some funny stories about baby poop, being in the birthing room, and just how being a wrestler kind of helped him for that, and then also how that's helped him navigate the waters of working in the business world and fitness industry and all that sort of stuff, dealing with new clients, old clients, members. So I'm super excited to put this one out there, and just always great to connect with the Gooch.
Yeah, man, this is super epic. You just put all the words out that I wanted to say. So I think without further ado, man, we just give him the Gooch.
All right, y'all, here's episode 24 with Anthony Iazzetta, a.k.a. Gucci. Much love. Namaste from the boys of 1512. You.
let's get into it, dude. What's life like now these days, running Jersey Strong and being a dad, man?
Tiring, nonstop, as you can see through my text messages through you.
Are you sleeping?
I'm actually lucky. I do sleep. I mean, 6 hours if you consider that good sleep, but it's broken sleep. The baby does sleep, but it's broken. Like, I'll wake up 2 or 3 times in the night.
Are you changing diapers?
I changed the first 4 diapers.
And that was it? No.
I'm actually pretty good with that stuff too. I got a good story with that.
Yeah, no, some of the pictures you send me, man, I think we can use for a podcast clip, dude. It's freaking gross.
Jimmy hung up on me. Weren't you in the background?
Yeah.
I'm changing diapers and shit's getting everywhere. Sometimes I throw out the clothes and I don't try to clean it, but whatever, we're getting it done,
Dude, and then when he's cleaning up shit, the cat decides to not poop in the litter box or throw up because she's not getting enough attention. So Gucci's life is a ritual oyster at these points.
What Jimmy's referencing is the other day I woke up, the baby pooped, cleaned that, and then I go downstairs and the cat threw up on the rug and pooped on the couch all within the first hour before we even get it ready for work.
Nice. That's a good way to start your day.
I didn't even get my coffee yet for me to poop.
Some of the things we've talked about in the process of you having a child is how much, those cliche words we always hear about how wrestling gets you prepped for the rest of your life. But you said it the other day to me. You're like, man, wrestling got me ready for this. Just kind of going into details on that and what your thoughts are on that now on the other side of wrestling and life.
I would say I live my life day by day, compared to wrestling, where I wake up and I'm ready to go, so if I'm up 18 straight hours, what do we compare that to? We wake up, we used to, whatever it was, go to school or, go to class, get the weight down, right? Get ready to weigh in. And then you have your match or your tournaments, right? And then you got to go home and do X, Y, and Z. That's how I lead my life every day, man. So I wake up, I do all that, and, I'm pretty organized. So I feel like all that has helped me because, if I sit down at 11 o'clock, it's cool. And I get everything done each day, and I'm fairly successful, at least like with my job. I haven't really skipped a beat since the baby's been born, back in January. A lot of people they come by, they're like, dude, you don't even look that tired. I'm like, it's really not that bad, man. I mean, if you're prepared, I don't understand why people aren't prepared for these type of situations. You know what I mean? Baby's work.
So when you say being prepared, right? How do you prepare to take on another life before it gets there? Is there anything that you had in line to kind of have that set up to be an easy transition, or when the baby was born, it was like, all right, there's chaos, but I can handle chaos pretty well, so bring it on?
Yeah, I mean, everybody always tells you the stories, right? Like, when you're a dad, this is going to happen, or, when you're a dad, you're going to see how your life change. And I think, I'm assuming we're all kind of like this, us three that we're, us speaking. When people tell you that, you're like, well, whatever, you know what I mean? I'm going to figure it out for myself, right? And I'm going to actually do it better. I think we all have that mind frame, right? So people used to say that to me, and I always used to get annoyed. I'm like, yeah, no kidding, my life's going to change. I mean, what do you expect? I have another human coming into the life that I produced. So I think I'm mentally prepared by, honestly, like at night, I was reading about it. I would almost meditate on my own before I would go to bed, just thinking about, the baby and when she's here and what I'm going to do. And it's almost like shadow wrestling, right? Like, that's what I was doing. I was shadow wrestling, what I was going to do in my life. So, my single leg over here was me waking up in the morning and I change the baby, and then I get ready for work and I feed her, and then I give her off to my wife, and then I go to work, and then I'm doing my double leg over here. And that's how I was getting ready for it. I was just shadow wrestling for, 9 straight months.
Were you in the delivery room?
I was in the delivery room, and I was holding a leg as well.
No shit. What was that like? Did you get queasy at all? Did you think you were gonna fall out?
Nah, I was I was cool because I think the only time was really when I was about to just kind of lay back and watch the show, and the nurse came in and was like, "All right, hold the leg." I'm like, "Excuse me, me?" But then I got in there, and if you actually ask my wife, she would tell me I actually counted and held better than the nurses did.
Did you guys go to classes and stuff leading up to that point?
Nope, nothing, no classes, nothing.
Just fucking wung it, huh?
Yeah, just went in there and said, "Screw it, we're here."
Just so the audience knows and Richie knows, though, Gucci is calm under chaos. Gucci does his best work when the world is falling apart around him. So it ain't no thing for him. He's a dude he's a gamer. He rises to the level of the chaos.
Yeah, and I would just piggyback that. I mean, I've had a lot of things, go on, multiple, not just one thing, multiple things where it's like you have that traumatic experience, right? And you kind of learn from it. So there's been instances where I wasn't like that when I was young. And what do you normally do, right? You sit back and reflect. So I took all those experiences. And, if it's personal, wrestling, right? It's like, again, I'll reference wrestling, but when you lose that state match, right? I was a third-year wrestler in states, and I lost, and I realized that I'm done, you know what I mean? Like, no more wrestling, possibly. I cried my eyes out. I took those experiences, and that's what really got me ready for the chaos type of situations, because you're not going to help a situation if you're not calm, and then making correct decisions. You freak out afterwards once it's done, and you at least get through that situation as best as possible.
And did your wife have like an epidural and all that good stuff, or did you go the natural route?
She went half the time with no epidural, and then she finally gave in, but she only did half. I didn't know that was actually possible, but for everybody out there, it is possible. You can just choose how much of an epidural you want to get, inserted into your back. So she went about half. I might be speaking a little bit out of her term because I don't know exactly what she did, but she still pretty much had most of her feeling, but it did help. I would say like the last 5 hours of the giving birth part.
Were you there when they did that?
No, they actually wouldn't let me stay for that part because it's such a fragile thing when they put the needle in that they just don't want anybody in there startling the patient because it's going into the back.
Ugh. Yeah, I had a group of senior health kids that we took to the maternity unit at the hospital when I was teaching, and just the woman talking about the epidural and how they did all that, I thought I was going to fall out.
Yeah, man. And you know what? To this day, she still feels it. If I massage her back a little bit, she still feels exactly where the needle was.
That's insane.
How was Shauna? Was there anything that she got overwhelmed about? Because I know you guys have similar demeanors, or was she just stoic throughout the whole time?
Nah, everything was good. The whole pregnancy actually was excellent. The whole term, all 3 trimesters, was pretty smooth. We were on top of most of the things that you could be, when you're getting ready, reading about what to eat and, how to sleep, whatever, you know what I mean? All the stuff that you read out there. The only issues, she did get a little nervous, and I think she tightened up a bit the last couple of hours because she wasn't dilating fast enough, which is funny. I started thinking, I'm like, if she had that wrestler mentality, I think she would have been able to help calm her mind down, because that's what it really came to. But how do you explain that in that situation then, right? I didn't want her to swing at me or anything. And then a little bit afterwards, she did have a couple of issues with her blood pressure. It rose a little bit, and that was a little bit hard. And that's why, going back to the diapers, that's why I was changing the diapers in the beginning, because her blood pressure shot up. She usually has low blood pressure, so she was having some issues, and her heart was beating out of her chest, it felt like. So she was pretty uncomfortable for a while.
Was it at any point, was she cursing you?
No, actually. Our situation was funny. So like I was telling you how I was holding the leg. So I'm messing with the nurse because that's my demeanor, right? Like I have a shirt on. If you could picture this, right? I'm holding the right leg. The nurse is on the left leg. I have a T-shirt on saying I put the bump in with my hump in. Okay, so I got this shirt on.
Yeah, you do.
And I'm cracking jokes to her. And then I look down, and she's like, "Did you just look down there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I see the head." She's like, "What is wrong with you? That's disgusting!" Screaming because she wouldn't look.
Yeah, I don't know if I could handle that.
Oh, I looked at everything. She wouldn't put the mirror up. I checked it. I thought it was amazing, to be honest. I watched the whole as the baby started to crown out. I watched that whole spot, and then obviously I cut the umbilical cord and went over to Japan with her. Pretty freaky, seeing that all happen just in 30 seconds, I guess. Once the baby comes out and they turn him over and they start breathing. Pretty amazing.
How surreal was that? Did you almost feel like you were high as all that was going on?
Yeah, I think you would probably even say in one way or another your state is that you're high because you're sleep deprived, and usually your nutrition's not right. So when that happened, I don't even know where the time went. As soon as the baby came out, those next couple of days, I was on cloud nine. I remember you calling me and you thought it was just like such a high, like even when I was telling you. Yeah, those are one of the feelings you can't even put into words until you're there,
Yeah, when you talked to me about the baby, we talked about this the other day, how, I've had other friends have babies and stuff, but really you seemed to pull me into the whole experience to be able to explain certain things and kind of mesmerize me when you say certain things. So to see that aspect of things and to see how you're dealing with it and how at times you're just so surreal and just like, wow, is this real life? That's what's kind of impressed me the most and kind of taken me back, like, wow, this is a trippy experience having a child.
Yeah, like we were speaking about the other day, like how I'm explaining it to you when we were going to that and how I'm saying it. I hate when people would just be like, this is what you should do. This is what's going to happen as a parent, right? They go like, "Bro, Rich, one day when you have a parent or when you have a kid, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you're going to change." I'm just not a fan of that because, like, how do you know? Like, why do I have to do that? So as I'm going through it, I want to be like, this is what I went through. If you went through it, it's probably going to be different, but at least you have my experience to kind of piggyback off of, right? Because your baby's going to be a little bit different, and that's how I'm trying to go about the whole thing with parenting, even remember what my parents did and just be like, all right, this is kind of what we did here or what they did with me or what I've seen, and try to do it as best as possible in my given situation. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I don't know if you call it a modern way of saying it. You know what I mean? I think I butt against the system so much, and that's in my mind how I'm looking at it.
Was there any advice that people gave you that going back you think, oh, they were pretty spot on about that? Or was it like all kind of old man advice that doesn't pertain to you because you're not an old man?
I don't know. That's a hard question. Like I'm sure there was some good advice out there, what people were telling me and that it's amazing. Yeah, of course it's amazing, right? But I tuned, honestly, a lot of it out because, again, I'm just really into, like, I'll experience it and I'll learn with my experience how to go about it. So I really didn't have too many conversations with anybody, to be honest. And even with like, my father, of course he spoke to me, but he has such a different way. And I think, again, we all know what I mean by this, like, very old school. That I didn't feel like I was going to agree with much of what he said anyway. So I took it in and I was respectful about it, but I still really just went with what I felt and thought over time. So I probably did, but I really didn't take too much of it. And I don't even mean it in a negative way. I just wanted to go into it with a clear mind.
I know you said not much has changed, maybe a little bit of the sleep patterns here and there, but your manager, you run Jersey Shores or Jersey Strong's club in where'd you say that was? It's not Fairhaven.
Shrewsbury.
In Shrewsbury. Has that changed the way you approach dealing with people who work underneath you, or is it same Gucci?
I mean, I don't think I've changed too much as a manager or anything like that. I'm a little bit more direct, a little more cutthroat, but let's get the work done because we have X, Y, and Z to do. Because at the end of the day, I need to make money. So maybe that approach has changed for me a little bit because now you're providing for somebody, right? So I obviously need to make sure I'm doing a certain amount of sales in my club every month because I'm providing now. It's not just for me. I know if I made X amount of dollars, I can survive off it with certain food. And again, we're talking to wrestlers who cut weight. I don't really need a lot of food. But again, it's different when you start talking about a baby and their food, their toys, and all the stuff because you want to give them everything. So I wouldn't say much has changed other than maybe I'm just a little bit more direct though with my job to get stuff done, and I think that's just perspective of just wanting again to get the job done and do it at the best of my capabilities and get out of here so that I could be home with my child.
I don't know if it's my perspective of dealing with you, but you've always been pretty freaking direct with me, just to get that on the record.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to say. I was already pretty direct, and everybody here. I have a staff of 13 trainers, so they all pretty know what needs to get done, and I'm really no nonsense. I don't mess around. I don't like to play games when I'm here. We have a job to do, and I want to be professional. So that much hasn't really changed, to be honest. Maybe just, I have a couple of trainers who are parents, and they come talk to me now about it and the experience. So that's really it, to be honest.
Is that just something they teach in Edison?
What part? To be direct?
Yeah.
They have a class at the high school called Hustle 101.
Yeah. We definitely know how to hustle and give you a cool demeanor while we do it.
But let's be clear. There's a clear distinction on people who go to JP and people who go to Edison High, correct?
100%.
What is
You've
that?
now had. Did you have the person from JP Stevens at any point on your podcast?
No, but we're probably gonna have to edit all this out now.
Okay, so we're editing that part out. But you've had two people from Edison High on your podcast.
What is the difference? Is there a difference, or is that just you kind of ball tapping?
No, it's a little bit of a joke, but and I've told you this, and I'm sure if you asked, literally, you could ask this blind without even telling Mike that you asked me this. At the time, it's just Edison was a little more rugged, a little more tough. And again, I'm even different because I'm from Brooklyn. So, even though I was a kid, I still had family in Brooklyn and Staten Island, so I used to go there a lot as a kid. So even though I didn't live there too long, I still went back a lot. I would spend full summers there. I don't even know if I ever told you that. So I did still grow up somewhat on the streets of New York for a while, and then Edison. But with Edison, it's a pretty big town. So to give everybody an example, I don't know how it is over there in Denver, Colorado. The graduating class for the south side of Edison was about 650 kids. I look back, I probably remember 10% of them. Same thing for JP. They had about 600 kids that were graduating. But the north side was always a little bit more wealthier. Some of the sports, they were good at times, but for the most part, Edison was usually pretty more consistent with their sports. And I don't know, you could go back to the 60s almost with the beef that went on between the South and the North.
Is there a distinct dividing line? Is there a train track or something?
I think at one point there was, but again, you know how over time all that changed. I really think there actually was, because I know of Metuchen, because if you know the town of Metuchen, it's a very small town in the middle of Edison, and there literally is train tracks when you're in Metuchen or you're in Edison.
Yeah, didn't Espo wrestle for JP Stevens when I wrestled him?
JFK Island.
Oh, that's right. All right.
Yeah, so he was in JFK Island, where that's the border of North Edison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, kind of get a little off subject, but we're on the topic of Region 5, and we've had plenty of wrestlers on here, and we've talked about it, and figured I'd get your thoughts on the new region classifications and what you think about it.
I mean, you take away from, I guess, like what we do as kids, right? Growing up, and you have certain teams that you remember when you guys were in Region 6 and you were looking forward to those matches. It takes that part of it out, right? I mean, would you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah. At the same time, I like to always try to think in a progressive way that, things were maybe a little uneven and they needed to change things up, but drawing a line down the state, I don't know if that was the right approach. Because you look at some of the districts and they're just so out of whack. Even that, like when I was in District 19, and literally District 19 was the Edison schools, the Burbage schools, and you had like Perth Amboy and one or two other schools, Carteret, that were in the area. That was your area, so it made sense. Literally, I could draw a circle and tell you where District 19 was. Now, the school Edison goes to Red Deck. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, they're literally like driving past 2 other districts to get to theirs.
Yeah, I mean, you have schools, take it back to North and South Edison. Then not only are they not in the same district, not in the same region. How does that make any sense?
Not at all. Not at all. When you were in high school, was the GMC in the same districts and region, or that was split up between 3 and 5? Correct.
3 and 5, yeah. So because you had South Plainfield and you had Colonia, I believe they were the 2 schools that were in Region 3. Everybody else, for the most part, was Region 5. You had your Overage, your East Brunswick, South Brunswick, all those type.
Yeah, that's always what I thought the brilliance of Region 6 was. It was the only, the short conference was the only district and region that kind of was the same. North Jersey, Central Jersey, all the districts and regions were splitting up counties, but Region 6 did a good job of keeping Monmouth and Ocean County together.
Minus
Right, which was also pretty cool, right? When you look back on it, having those 2 counties there, duke it out. But again, I come from a time, right, around 98, 99, 2000 when GMCs were pretty freaking tough, right? This is right before Region 6 exploded.
Yeah, no, Richie just made eyes, but I agree with you 100%. He was already out of the game by then, but I'll give it to you. Region,
Listen,
I would say when you were in high school, Region 5 was the toughest.
I checked a couple people from there. It wasn't like it was like 2 or 3 years even after me. When you had studs like all those state champions in there. They might have been good still, but it wasn't like where it became where you guys took over the state.
Yeah. Did you ever win the GMCs?
I took 3rd. You want to give my background. I started wrestling as a sophomore. You want to ask what I did as a freshman?
Basketball?
Yep. So I played basketball my freshman year, and I started wrestling sophomore year. And then my junior year, I was on the varsity team. My junior year, my weight class had eventually 5 region champions in the same weight between Region 3 and Region 5.
What weight was that?
112. It was Gebauer, Ian Gorham. Gebauer probably would be the name that you know the most. Matt Anderson was a weight lower from me. He was 103 pounds. That was the year he wound up winning it, actually, at 103. Keith Richings, Mike Salento. I think he was the most winning wrestler for Colonia. And then there's me, who eventually I took 2nd my senior year. My senior year, I took 3rd in the counties. Gebauer won it, who wound up taking 4th in the state. And the kid Ian, he was ranked 5th or 6th in the state, and he was in my region the year I took 2nd, but he broke his hand, and he actually didn't compete in the regions.
So, kind of get back to something you said before and bring the coaching and wrestling together. You said you have 13 trainers that work underneath you. How much has your coaching in wrestling transferred into managing 13 trainers? Is it pretty much just like running a wrestling team?
For the most part, because you could break it down where you have 13 different personalities, right? So when we coached the high school back in the day, is it still 14 weight classes? I don't know. I know they changed the weight classes, but is it still 14 at the high school level?
No, I think there's less now.
Is there less? So you take that, right? And you know how each kid is like a different way of coaching. You know, like each you have to, especially at the high school level, they're so fragile. You know, it's the same thing. I feel like with work where each trainer has their own personality, and I have to approach them a certain way. And then you just have to be that coach to deal with different personalities, and you balance all of them, right? So now you're just like a plate spinner. I think it's almost the same thing.
And what are I mean, it's been a minute since I've been in a I guess we call it a Globo gym style gym.
I was waiting for the Globo gym.
What type of stuff are those trainers doing with their clients?
I would say we have about, I think we have 12 now. We're about to have 12 gyms. You honestly would maybe get something a little bit different in each gym depending on your trainers, but we are pretty good in the fact that you have to come some type of certification. So no matter what, you have to get your, I have NASM, I have NCSF, ISSA. You have to have that foundation. Some of them have exercise science degrees. That's how I hired too. I made sure that we always had degrees. And, given the gym I'm at now, some of these people were here before I was here. I'm lucky with I have some trainers that have been here over 25 years. But then you got to work on specialization. So I have certain trainers that work with kettlebells, TRX. We're all certified in stretch, which that can be like its own topic. But the stretch that we got is pretty good. And then there's other, we do boot camp classes. We have here a 30-yard turf. I have sleds. So I can do all the workouts that, we used to do in a club at the wrestling club back in the day,
You got tires?
Yeah, it's not the real tires though. We have one of the ones that they have for inside. It's not the rubber tire though, but you still, for the most part, the only thing we don't have is the equivalent of like a hammer to do the slams.
Okay.
Do you have certain trainers that are certified just to deal with special pops and deal with people who might be getting off the couch or an elder person?
Yeah, you have. I mean, you could. There's almost a certification for anything, but I have trainers that deal with older community, male and female, and then I have injuries where it could be more of a type of like ACL, those type of constructive injuries, or it could be people that are coming in that have cardiac issues, that have dealt with cancer. I've literally almost, if you throw it my way, I've probably almost dealt with everything because I'm coming close to selling personal training in 10 years now.
Now, when you talk about those people coming in with those different issues, we all know when someone joins a gym or gets a membership at a gym, they have this expectation that they want to do this, do this, do this. And, as trainers, we all know that there's only so much you can do at once. When someone's coming in with these special issues and what have you, how do you combat, hey, let's do one thing at a time, or hey, let's slow down so we can be in here for a year, opposed to paying all the money up front and then never coming in because we're discouraged because we put too much on our plate?
Well, I think that winds up coming back into the education, right? Explaining to people why they're doing X, Y, and Z. And I think that's almost probably for anything. But when they come in and they're talking about, they want to lose 50 pounds, but they just came off a certain injury, you got to explain to them, right, how they have to take the baby steps so they're not taking 3 steps back. But I do have certain I have a program that we use, and we use certain pages for education. So those pages I have memorized. So I could then, design it to be exactly for what they're looking for because I know these pages in and out. And then I start to explain to them what we're going to get into and why I'm going into that. Because the biggest thing is the why. Like, why are we doing these things? That's what I feel like most people don't understand is why are you doing these certain workouts? These are people that are not like us and have been working out since, we've been working out for our whole lives. They haven't. So they're very nervous coming into these appointments as well, too.
Are you getting into diet and nutrition and that sort of stuff with them?
I usually will table it somewhat because there's so much to go in on the exercise, but we do go into it eventually, especially, once they come on board. then we can start going into the nutrition. Obviously, again, depending on the situation, if it's weight loss, muscle gain, things of that nature. But yeah, eventually, again, somebody comes in and wants to talk about their exercise and their weight loss, and then the nutrition. That can be almost a 2-hour session, you know. So we try to table it so that we have a little balance as they come, you know, as they come in and start giving them all that stuff, because you could also overload their what they're taking in at that point as well too.
Do you have any Biggest Loser type success stories?
I mean, I don't even know how many I've had, but I know the most recent one I got, because we had to just collect a couple of referrals recently. We had a lady here lose 130 pounds in the last year and a half, and you honestly actually wouldn't even notice if I showed you a picture of her.
Totally unrecognizable.
Yeah, I mean, because she hasn't stopped the weight training, and she's learned, so her body was pretty quick with, you know, not getting stretched out, you know, like some people it happens to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, from picture 1 to picture 2, not even recognizable at all.
Now, will you guys make ads and stuff based around her to kind of hype her up and show what she did, or does that just kind of go under the radar?
No, I mean, we ask, you know, so with a bigger gym like this, you know, the company will do certain things, because obviously you have to get that like signed off on. But like she did it actually recently for the company, so they're going to do a commercial soon, and she's going to be one of them that are presented on the commercial, which they do commercials for like Facebook and Instagram and all that. But yeah, no, usually we try to spotlight them if they're comfortable doing it, so that people could see that it's, you know, it's possible to do those, you know, do that certain, you know, thing, as, you know, for her case, lose over 100 pounds.
And do you see people are still wanting that one-on-one attention, or more people gravitating towards some of the like group style classes that you have offered?
So the gym itself, so they did actually go that route for a while with the group style, and they've reverted back to the one-on-one, because really that's where things happen for people. And, you know, to be honest, like it's definitely better for the business itself. But the group classes, at least in my opinion, are a good supplement to the one-on-one training, just at least like how we design it here. I guess, like, if I look into my workouts, the way you really would want to do it, if in a perfect world, you would have your lifting days, and then you have, let's say, like your wrestling or, you know, your cardio-esque type of workouts to split up. So with the group classes, I always try to tell them, like, listen, you are going to do some of these types of classes, but we're still going to need that one-on-one at least 2 to 3 times per week, let's say, to really get your form down, so that you're not hurting yourself when you're in those group classes. Because even if it's a small group class that's like 4 or 5 people, something can be missed, you know, if you're doing a workout. One-on-one, it's going to be, you know, hard to miss something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. There's nowhere to hide when it's just one-on-one. You can't
Right.
can't sneak and hide in the corner and put in half an effort or cheat a couple reps.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, like you're getting that individual attention to make sure that you push through. Because a lot of people, they will, I think that's for all of us, right? When we stop for a while and we get back into it, it's hard to stay consistent, because it's not easy. It's plain and simple, especially as you get older.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's what I always say.
Hear that.
We talk a lot how you do assessments with people as they come in, and you're the one who signs people up. Just kind of go into detail on what that's like, what your strategies and protocols are to get people in the door, or to even recognize, hey, what this person wants, we can't provide it, and to let them know that and not lead them on.
I mean, with most people, you know, like, well, one, the leads come from, they reach out to me, let's say, or they join the gym. That's where the leads come from. So now I got to start teaching them, why do they need personal training? You know, like, because they usually come in for a gym membership, right? Like, you come in for a gym membership, you're not thinking personal training. You're thinking just, I'm going to use the equipment. We're lucky and we have a lot of stuff here, so we're going to do the kettlebells, we're going to do the machines, we're going to do a class. So I got to start explaining why is this going to work for them. So again, everybody comes in different. So that's when I go right into my education of what they need to do. Some people, from a sales perspective, sometimes it might even take 2 or 3 or 4 times for that person to understand what you're saying. You shouldn't expect that most of the people aren't going to expect, the first time that they meet you, that they're going to understand that we need to, bang out in the gym 3 to 4 times per week, get at least 30 minutes to 40 minutes of resistance, and then you need to get your cardio in every day to get the goals that you're looking for, right? So it's more about the persistence, to be honest with you, and being organized with that, to getting people to understand and then staying here with us so that they're not only here for a month and then they're just donating like a Planet Fitness, right?
So we kind of joked about before how, there's the Edison hustle, and me and Richie always talk about how everyone we know from Edison has that hustle. So in the process of becoming a manager, do you feel, the classes they send you to, the education they give you, that stuff helps? Or do you feel going into that position you kind of came into management with all those tools because you got that Edison hustle?
I mean, I'll tell you this. The first time when I started as a personal trainer, and I had a lot to learn because I didn't get my education at first in all this. I just kind of got the job because I was a coach. And I failed a lot at first, to be honest. I did. Like, I wasn't really the best seller. I was a good trainer because I had a good personality, and I knew how to keep people with me because I made them feel good, right? And I knew enough workouts to get the average Joe by. I had to take a step back, actually, from management and get more of my education and learn how to convey it. And once I was able to do that, which the company did help me with all that, like getting my certification, I got that through here. I've gotten my N.C.C.P.T, I've gotten my kettlebell cert, I've gotten TRX, I have the stretch all under the umbrella of my company. Then as I started to learn all that, I became more confident and was able to start conveying that to people, and that's when I started to really become good at what I do now.
No CrossFit level 1?
No CrossFit. Usually I'm explaining where so again, just to use that as an example, I never actually will talk down about anything. CrossFit will be good for certain people, but as you know, right, there's some injuries as well too. So somebody new, maybe not the best way to go at first, but maybe if it is something that they're interested in, definitely down the road, I wouldn't disregard it to do that as well too.
Have you seen an influx of people coming in from CrossFits as CrossFits are closing and maybe not as popular as they were at one time?
I generally probably get 2 to 3 people a month from CrossFit gyms that didn't want to pay maybe what they were paying. And then literally, like, when they tell me what they were paying, they could get a good amount of sessions here for just one-on-one, and the class that comes with it and the stretch. So when they start putting that together, usually it's usually a pretty easy sale, to be honest. But I've been pretty consistent. I mean, there is a CrossFit gym over here, and it is pretty good. So they do have like their core. But you got the older community, and older. I mean, I'm just saying like in their 40s that do it for a while.
Whoa, hey, huh?
Yeah, but see, the difference is you've been working out. You never really stopped, right? I mean,
no.
Not many people I speak to are doing ultra marathons.
Do you get people doing snatches and clean and jerks and stuff on the floor?
No, I have middle-aged moms doing snatches and clean and jerks. They also think I'm crazy, but I do. See, again, it depends on the trainer because you kind of know my background. So I used to do it for fun because I wanted to see what that stuff is. So you actually would be surprised, just because I think a lot of that stuff has become more mainstream anyway, compared to like 10 years ago when we were doing it in the clubs.
One thing you had mentioned was when you first started coaching, your personality kind of compensated for maybe your lack of coaching skills. Do you see a lot in the environment that you're in that a good personality will go way farther than being a good coach without a personality?
I mean, put it this way. I got 5 wrestlers on staff. There is something to be said about like the wrestler's mindset. and our drive and how we do things. But with the personality, it helps with making people feel comfortable. So there's two kind of aspects to that. There's the sales side, and then there's the training side. I was able to learn how to get it into the sales side to be good at it because I was too nice at first. So it worked for training, but it didn't work for sales. You know, for sales, you do have to get a little real at times with people. So I had to find a way to get real with people, but not offend them and still use my personality so that they trusted me. With training, they're already with you, so they're going to trust you no matter what. And especially if you start showing them that they're seeing results. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a good personality and you're giving kick-ass workouts, they're going to stay with you. But with the sale, you sometimes have to get real with people because they're afraid to take that jump and work with you and whatever it is, you know, in this type of gym or CrossFit, you know, running, it doesn't matter. You have to show them the value of what you're doing at times.
And how do you do that?
Well, I'm showing the value, like everything I was just telling you before, all that, but like depending on the situation, I'll break it down and be like, you know, why'd you come to the gym? Why are you here? Why haven't you got the goals, right? Let's be real. You know, back in the day when we coached, why didn't you make it to States? What did you not do to prepare yourself to get there? Was it that
Pull-ups.
weekend maybe that you missed? You know, like we got to get down and find out really what's going on. Why didn't we get there, and how can we get there? But some people are a little scared to say that. I mean, I'm sure you know people like that aren't going to get real and be honest to your face.
So you talked about kind of commenting on awkward situations or maybe the uncomfortable things that you don't want to say but have to be said. And I think as coaches, we've all dealt with what I like to call as assholes, as people who just like to ask stupid questions or questions about things they've seen on TV or on a podcast, and they really don't care what your answer is. They kind of already have the answer in their head, but they're just going to ask you to ask, or, oh, I'm going to do this 30-day challenge because it looks sexy and fun and what have you. How do you combat that and not get annoyed at, you know, clients with kind of maybe stupid, I don't want to say stupid questions, but stuff that you know they're just talking to talk and really not going to have any process to change what they're doing?
I mean, again, you know, every situation is a little different, but if it's somebody that really is going to sit here and almost question what I'm doing, I have no problem shaking hands and being like, listen, when you're really ready to be serious, come talk to me. If not, I have other people that want to, you know, get this done or want to talk. Maybe a little bit too stern at times, you know. I do pick and choose that. It's almost like when you would do to the wrestlers, like blow the whistle and be like, all right, get out. We're done for the day. we don't need to practice because obviously we're not practicing. It's almost, I think, like that type of mentality, you know. So sometimes I will be like, listen, when you're ready, you know, you're coming to me for a reason. Like I know I can get you there, but if you're not taking it seriously, maybe we need to take a step back and you come back to me when you're ready to talk, right? Which I think you would probably agree. That's my personality.
Yeah, I think that's what you do best. You're going to be straightforward. You're going to give me that look that lets you know you're not messing around and you're being 100% serious. But at the same time, you're going to be calm, cool, and collect, and you're not going to let your attitude or any anger that might be arising come out. Yeah,
it's not to berate or talk down. Like, it's business, you know, and if you're not going to respect it, then we're good, because this is also when I became good. Because I'm not going to go to your job and tell you what to do, right? It's like me going, you know, to tell you how to run. Like I know what I'm talking about compared to you. Like it's rude, and that's how I look at it.
You get those people though.
Yeah, no, it gets them. Listen, you get those people, and sometimes they'll come back and apologize. And, you know, some people are just going to take that route. I think that's part of the country's problem right now, right? You know, when it comes to weight and all that. I talked to my dad, and he has type 2 diabetes, and he'll tell me how to diet because he's been on this world longer.
I'm older. I have to know more. That's the rules, Gooch. You didn't know that?
Right, yeah. So, you're going to come across those people, and some people you can't change their minds, and it is what it is. You try to show them. I give them a card, shake hands. Hopefully we cross paths, and I will do what I can to try to help save that person. But you can't bring them to drink water, right?
Yeah.
So you were coaching at a super young age, and you kind of took that right into being a personal trainer, and then into management at the club. What was the biggest learning experience for you, or the biggest learning curve for you in that whole process?
Whew. That's a loaded question. I think I said it to you the other day, right? I would be, if you were to see Coach, me as a coach when I was 18 when I started, to me as a coach now, wouldn't even be recognizable. I had to learn. I didn't think the parents, but it was never really about the coaching on the mat. I always knew the sport. Where my strength was, I actually just think I was always one of the best at in-game, or in-match philosophy and how to win that match, right? Like where to move. That's what my strength was. I could usually call a match. I could tell you where we're going to have struggles and maybe where we should move. But as time went on, and dealing with so many personalities, and then, with the younger kids, you're dealing with the parents, there's just a lot of situations where at times I probably would have stepped back because I needed to be in the limelight and people see me. And maybe because I was young and I started wrestling so late, and I was always just short in, let's say, placing in states for, I was in Montclair, and which is where I wrestled in college, and I was ranked 5th in the country, but then they cut the team and I didn't finish out the season. So I was always right there, but I never finished. So I think I was placated to that as a coach for a little bit. But then as I got older, it's like, what does all that stuff really matter? I'm just trying to get the kid better. And I think I started to lean towards the Malaconical type of way, where he was doing it in clubs, and that's what he cares about. We coached together for almost 6 years, me and Mike. For a while, the reason why we worked together is because I was good at coaching during the matches, and he was good at coaching at the practices. That was our strengths. I eventually went towards, though, where he just liked coaching, just to coach. It didn't matter what the wins and losses were. I was too involved in wins and losses for a long time with the team, and I felt like that mattered. And now I'd rather be in the background and just getting that stuff done. That's how I evolved, and just working with the kids to, get better at the sport, but, with wrestling, getting better at life, right? Because the things that matter to me now is that I have 3 wrestlers that still contact me to this day. 2 of them are working in town, and 1 is a Marine and has 3 kids, and he sends me a picture every month of his kids. That's what really matters.
Yeah, that's the biggest gold medal for a coach, or the biggest pat on the back, is when those kids reach out and contact you and let you know you had an impact on them. Then you did your job regardless of gold medals or where they ended up on the podium.
Right, because that same kid, I taught him how to do his first single leg. He won 2 region titles, and he walked on a rider and started, right? Does it really matter? I mean, it was great. I I don't want to take that ever away from somebody. I think that's, if that's what you're inspiring to do, definitely don't stop doing it. But there's bigger things at play. To me, that's what's changed for me over time.
Yeah, and I think early on coaching, it was all about results. And,
right.
You throw a couple eggs against the wall. Some of them are going to break. Some of them are going to stick. And then as I got older, it was more about making sure that these kids have a skill set so that they can use this for the rest of their life, and on a running side of things, so that they can be running just like I am now at 43. Yeah. On the wrestling side, teaching them how to diet properly or have the right nutrition plan, how to do things well in the wrestling room, and most importantly, coming from wrestling, you have that mindset where you know how to work hard, you know how to get things done. You're either going to be a good employee or you're going to be a good boss. and you're going to travel up the ranks. And I think that's where sometimes things get lost with some coaches, is that it's not everyone gets to that point, and for some it always stays about them getting those wins and losses. And I think that's why you see, unfortunately, either coaches or parents having those ugly meltdowns, be it at Region 5 or Region 6 or down in Atlantic City, where you're like, ooh, it's almost cringeworthy to have to see a parent or a wrestling coach who is a parent just be really shitty to a kid. And, it's like, man, they're...
Do you remember that scuffle back in the day at the overage with the parents fighting? It was a summer tournament with dual meet, and the parent wound up running onto the mat and like going after the kid, and then the kid like attacked the parent, something along those lines. It was something crazy.
Yeah, it happens.
I happened to be there.
Oh, you were? Was it at the hockey rink?
It was right next to me. It was literally the mat. It wasn't my match. It was the mat next to me. And like that was one of the first times where like everything you said started to come to light to me, though. Where it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? It's a summer tournament.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that parents and some coaches don't see that, because, and I may be a victim of this too, or guilty of this, where you just ruin it for the kid, or you make such a scene that you embarrass the kid so much that the kid walks away from the sport completely. I've seen that. I've seen that happen too.
In baseball.
That's funny. That's exactly what I was
referring to.
Is a baseball situation where someone just was so taken aback by what the situation was and how the parent reacted that they just walked away from it completely.
Right. And yeah, pretty much, like, long story short, with me with baseball, it was like parents were fighting, and it was actually coaching with my dad trying to do the right thing and teach the kids a lesson. And we're talking about middle schoolers, and parents getting so pissed off they didn't want my dad to coach anymore. And I actually got left off All-Stars because they were pissed at my dad. And I always use that as an example. I lost sight of it, though, for a little bit too. But I always went back to that and was just like, you're trying to teach kids here. And all those All-Stars, I know one person that got signed to major leagues out of the hundreds of people that I came across and played with in Edison. One person made it.
Well, I don't know if you remember the Beast from the East, the Toms River team that won the Little League World Series, but they did a there and now piece on all those kids when they were in high school, and I only think like 2 or 3 of those kids played baseball in high school.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what does that shit matter? What does it matter? And I know we've all been victim of being a little too intense as a coach. I know when I first started, especially at those Middlesex days, just yelling like an idiot, just bouncing up and down, getting overly excited, not knowing how to deal with your emotions. But it goes back to something we talk to all the time about. There's no classes for that. You kind of learn based on the coaches you have and based on what you see and trial and error. There's no coach that says, hey, don't jump up and down because you look like an idiot and you're taken away from the kids on the mat.
Oh, dude.
I'm like shuffling through all the coaches that I did. I just remember doing that. It's true. Like, it's like all trial and error, right? Like, we're all saying this, but it's all the errors that we made that you learn off of to shape you into like like how we think now and your philosophy and all that.
Yeah, it's an evolution.
Right. And hats off to the young people that do it right, man, because that really does actually amaze me, though, when I see younger people do it correctly. I'm like, man, hats off to you, because I definitely took the long road, in learning to where I'm at now. And I wish it was shorter, but, it is what it is, and that's life.
Yeah, I think that's part of your journey of just evolving as a human. And, as we're talking about coaching and, before we get you out of here, one thing I want you to touch on, you were touching on how those 3 kids contact you on the reg. Just talk about the impact that Coach Niz had on you and all those guys, because to me it's a real special thing. Coach Niz, the head coach of Edison High School back when you were coming up, that all those guys are super tight with him and talk talk about him as a father or second father, and I haven't seen that with many other coaches.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. So his name's Jerry N.C.C.P.T. He's in the New Jersey Hall of Fame, and he's in the National now. And so is his brother Joe. Actually, they both were state champs for J.P. Stevens. Go figure.
Comes full circle.
Yeah, they're still hanging up on the walls. I think there were 2 of the 3 state champs that they ever had. But my coach Nis, he did 15 years in Elizabeth and then 15 years in Edison, and he has countless kids that would come back to him, and I learned off him. We wound up having a special bond. Probably would say I'm one of his closest because we still are in contact, and I'm over his house a lot to this day. And he's almost like a second father, I would say, to me. It's just because we wind up learning a lot from each other. That's where I think the special connection is, because he'll tell you in all his years coaching, and he told me this, so I'm only repeating like what he said, like how when we coached together, he learned a lot because he evolved, seeing like how I started indirecting. And he would stop me at times, don't get me wrong. Like there was things I did where he was just like, all right, take a step back here. But he loosened up a little bit over time, as kids started to change. And I think I just missed the line where kids really started to change to like where it is kind of like to today society. But that's where I feel coaching so unique, because with the 3 kids that still contact me, they picked me up when there was times that I was down, right? So all that time, it's like having your kid, right? Just kind of do it full circle, right? I have my kid, and I'm going to be teaching her. I'm going to be doing all this stuff to get her to be as successful as possible. And then one day they're going to come back to you and help you, and that's where it's special, And I was lucky enough, even for my times when I screwed up or I was down, they picked me up. And I don't think there's really anything more you can ask for in those type of situations in coaching.
That's what it's all about, Gucci. That's the prize in the cereal box, as they would say.
Cracker Jack?
Yeah, that's the ring in the box, man. That's what it's all about. It's the hidden prize that, you're not really looking for, but, when you're in a low spot or things are not maybe 100, those kids that you were there for at certain times pick you up, man. It's a beautiful statement and a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. If people haven't done it, definitely should got to at least try it or, study it a little bit, because it's a unique thing. And I'm at the point now just to kind of tell you where I'm at in my life, because I'm a parent. I don't coach anymore because I knew I needed to take a break. And you and me and Jimmy, we've spoke about this, but I needed to take a break for a while. I knew like my fire kind of was done. I wasn't as excited to do it anymore. But that's not a bad thing, you know what I mean? I don't think you need to do it your whole life. You could take breaks. I know my assistant coaches said that in Edison, they took 10, 15 years off. And going back to coaching this, he said that too. He's like, do your family thing, and the sport's always there. It's not going anywhere. So sometimes it's good to have that break as well too. And that's like where I'm at now. So I look back and I love all the things I did. But it's good to, kind of see it from afar now and not be involved with it, to be honest with you. That's where I'm at right now.
I think that's a special place to be, because, I know I had coaches, Richie had coaches, where they probably should have taken that break. They probably should have stopped 10, 15 years prior, but, the ego got in the way, or this is what I need to do. This is that extra paycheck I need to collect this season. That takes away from the kids and the kids' experience. But I appreciate you sharing that with us. And before we get you off here, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want the people to know, or where can they find you? What do they need to know about Gucci, a.k.a. Anthony Iazzetta?
Oh, God, man, putting me on the spot like that, you probably could explain me better than I can explain myself. You can find me on Twitter. I don't tweet that much because it's mostly about our wrestling. We do. That's my off time. I love pro wrestling, man. I'm gonna just say it loud and proud. So that's what I'm doing most of the time. But you can find me at Iazzetta on Instagram or on Twitter.
Best wrestler of all time.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing most of the times. But then honestly, you ain't catching me anywhere other than the gym, working and trying to get a quick workout in. Try not to get that hashtag no dad bod, or being home with my daughter right now.
Right on. Before we get off of here, best wrestler of all time.
What wrestling are we talking about?
Professional.
Best wrestler of all time.
Wow, you hesitated. Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know why you took so long to answer that. I knew what was coming from you.
What did you say?
Shawn Michaels.
Well, you put me on a spot like that. We could talk about just showmanship. We could talk about actual technical. We could get into pretty big deal. I know. I'll stop.
Richie's getting douche chills right now, so we'll wait till Friday to run in the roast
Not ready
podcast.
to go to the bathroom.
Listen, I didn't plug running the roast because I didn't want Rich to come back here and kick my ass for it.
Not at all. Plug away.
Well, me and Jimmy, we got running the ropes. It's on Fridays. We're getting back at it this week. We're going to be talking everything about Raw, SmackDown, NXT. He's going to go over G1. We got it all.
Hell yeah. Thanks for joining us today, Gucci. It was an honor and pleasure, and I'm happy I finally got you and Richie on the same phone call together.
When you coming out for a Broncos game?
Well, right now we're shooting for September, but he said you might not be there, so I might have to reschedule. I think he's doing it on purpose, to be honest. I think he's afraid to get us together.
I'm out of town on the the weekend of the 22nd, I think it is.
Yeah, so we might have to push it to October because I think that's when. So wait, you leave the 22nd? We'll figure this out because I need to come when you're there. We really need to get our heads together. Maybe even argue a little bit about the whole Region 5 and Region 6 thing in the early 2000s and 90s.
I mean, I wasn't really paying attention from like 98, 99 until, I don't know, 05 maybe.
I'm just
03.
Gucci, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to leave this, and we'll let you get off. We had Gene on the podcast. Gene said Region 6 was the toughest region. So say what you will, but he's the Region 5 guy, so...
I would agree, though, because when you guys went through that, when you guys built up, I mean, that there was probably people that never got out of there, and then again, I think that's why they wound up going with the redesign, eventually, because people from Middletown and stuff were complaining that you had good wrestlers there that didn't even get a chance to get out of states because there were so many freaking studs. It was almost like the Big Tens for like 5 years.
Yeah.
For real. So, all right, Gucci, thank you very much, sir. Have a good night. I'll talk to you on Friday.
Pleasure.
Be well.
Be well.
Take care.
All right, Richie Rich. That was Gucci. We finally got him on here.
Yeah, we got to get him out here. I know we always make contact in short, brief interactions, so it'd be good to have a weekend, show him the city, do some Denver things.
Yeah, I was super stoked on his perspective about meditating for the baby to come and how it was his shadow wrestling. He spoke to my inner bro in me.
Yeah, I don't know if any amount of meditation could help me prepare for that situation.
No, it scares the shit out of me. He's just someone who has taken it on with such stride and seems to really be all in on it and enjoying it at the same time. He's one of the few people I know that have been able to handle parenthood like it ain't no thing and just kind of keep on proceeding with his life and actually be a hands-on father. And one thing me and Gucci were talking about last night is how a lot of fathers aren't that hands-on or let the wife take care of certain things, so it's something that I admire in him, that he's all in and all about it and all about being in his child's life and helping out and not just putting it all on his wife.
And I don't the act of being a parent doesn't scare me. It's the financial burden and not being prepared to handle that. At this moment, that would be what would terrify me. God forbid a Tinder date goes awry, and you got some responsibilities to take care of. I always say when people ask me if I have kids or if I have pets, I say I'm barely taking care of myself. So and it's we've always talked about that in terms of financial stress is a real stress, and and I think that was one of the things that I also came to the realization of in my first trip to Peru was, light bulb went off as to why. I mean, there's a couple different reasons why, but that financial stress can really wear you down, and then you add a kid on top of that or a family on top of it. But I think like the actual act of getting up and changing diapers, or waking up in the middle of the night, like I'm down with all that. I don't have a problem with that. It's just diapers are expensive, baby food's expensive, college is expensive, so I think if I were to ever be at a situation, financially, I wouldn't be stressed.
It's not just the financial aspect that scares the shit out of me, and don't get me wrong, that does scare the shit out of me. I don't even have kids, and finance does scare the shit out of me. It's doing it right, and the ability to fuck up another human being's life. That's what scares me. The right now, if I get aggravated or if I'm acting like a jerk, the only one who that really affects is me and maybe you, because we share space together. But when you have a kid and you have those reactions like that where you're not thinking, and you might slip up and say something that is going to stick with that kid for the rest of their life, or God forbid you push them or you hit them out of an act of anger, and that's something, you shake your head, and I shake my head too, because the way we were raised and how I view that. But in those situations when your anger gets the best out of you, that's the test of who you really are, and not tested, you really don't know who you are. So that's what really scares me about it.
Yeah, but you don't need to be tested to know that you're doing the work of self-improvement every day to make yourself a better person. And listening to Power Athlete last week, John Welborn was talking about giving parent tips or advice or whatever, and he said that the sins of the father do not have to be the sins of the son. And I think for the longest time it was always like, well, killing the tree, it ends here. Uncle Steve was very vocal about saying, that's your legacy. So I think knowing that you're going to do everything in your power not to repeat those mistakes.
100%.
And that's not to say that you might not slip up, but you're going to be able to catch yourself in that moment because of the work you've been doing, Even now with the amount of, and it just keeps popping up over and over with the meta, when you're in certain areas and certain locations or certain things trigger certain emotions, you have that ability to bring yourself back to that present moment and not go down that rabbit hole. And I think that's the same sort of thing when, it's one thing to get upset because the way you're chewing and joke about it or give you a stink eye. It's another thing where when you're raising someone, and I think it all goes back to education. We don't do this because, and this is the why. Always giving the why behind why you do or don't do something is huge. And that was just something that wasn't ever on the menu. It was just, don't do this because I said so. And when you asked for the why, you got whooped. Being a teacher and wanting to help people and doing all that stuff, it's that you have to always give the why. And it's tough to, when you see certain things in your friends or how they're doing things, you can't really give your opinion because I don't have a leg to stand on. It's like someone telling me not to use psychedelics who's never used psychedelics.
It's the same thing, and recurrent theme of this podcast and conversations we have is, that is why Mike Mal was such a good coach. He always told us the why. He always gave us the reason, and sometimes it was be like, I don't know, this is just what I think we should do. And I think when you can lift the veil for your child to see that you are not Oz, that you are not, obviously you're their creator, but you're not the creator of everything around them, and they don't have to go through life thinking you know everything, or what my parents say is the end and the final. I think when you can show your child that you're human just like them and not have to have this aura about you or this persona, I think that's when the good parenting happens. That's when the relationship happens, when you guys can be pals, but there's still a parenting aspect to you. I think the thing with us and our upbringing was, like you said, don't ask why. I am the end. I am the alpha. I am the omega. When you treat your kid,
What the fuck did you just?
I am the alpha. I am the omega.
You just throwing nonsense out there right now.
Bro, that's a Chris Jericho reference. Get out of here.
Jesus Christ, save that for fucking Friday.
Whatever. What?
I have to piss. Can we wrap this up?
I don't know. I thought we were gonna try to get some Tinder bits in here. I guess
well,
not.
I pause it so I can go take a piss.
All right, I gotta take a piss too. Piss break on pause.